You're watching Leafs Morning Take with host Nick Alberga and former NHLer Jay Rosehill. The show starts now.
One more win. That's all the Maple Leafs need before they get to potentially round two here at the Stanley Cup playoffs. The Battle of Ontario, 3-love for the Maple Leafs. Deja vu, I would say, from 2001. It's Nick Alberga, Jay Rosehill, the Friday edition of Leafs Morning Take presented by Bet365. I'm live here on location at Canadian Tire Center in Canada. What's going on, Rosie?
Can you have deja vu from 24 years ago? I guess you can, hey. But yeah, eerily similar, man. 3-0. Good spot for the boys to be. I'm impressed by how calm, cool, and collected everybody across everywhere is about this right now. It's a good spot to be, man. I mean, you can legit talk sweep now and not be jinxing it or be out of your mind.
Speaking of which, I'm very superstitious. I got a word from the powers that be here on location. Amo Delic, Nick Caroli doing fantastic work behind the scenes. Somebody in this room, there's only two of us in this room here in Canada, suggested maybe I go somewhere and buy a broom and bring it into Canadian Tire Center for my show tomorrow. Leafs Morning Take with Carter Hutton alongside. What are your thoughts on that, Rosie?
Dicey.
That's what I said. Okay.
I don't think we've healed enough from past trauma. I would go without. I would go without strictly because of demons crawling back out of the woodworks. We don't need it, so don't do it.
No, dude, that's exactly it. I still have PTSD from that Montreal Canadiens series, and the Maple Leafs were up 3-1. So I just want good juju. I want to take care of business on Saturday night, win this series in 4, and get set for round 2, whether it's the Florida Panthers, we're up 2-0, or the Tampa Bay Lightning. Our Super Chat charity partner this season is Sick Kids. Want to make sure that your question or comment gets on the show. Hit us up with a Super Chat. Proceeds from our Super Chat will go to Sick Kids, ranked the #1 research-intensive children's hospital in Canada and 3rd in the world. We got a Super Chat right off the bat here in support of Sick Kids. John Gallagher writes in, Benny Orr, greatest moment in team history since I slid into Willie's sister's DMs, or Lisa Ann off with Bunny LaRock, true story. Or Lisa ran. Okay, sweet. That's a lot to take in there, Rosie.
A lot of info coming down the barrel there. But greatest moment in Leafs history? I would hope not. But I don't know. It's 2 overtime wins. Like, what, do you want to break it down or what? It's there. The proof's in the pudding. The only thing that really matters is the result, and they've got it every single time. And now they've got a job to do to get this thing done and get themselves some rest and some extra preparation.
Fair enough. And again, I would like to thank the Ottawa Senators for hosting us here at Canadian Tire Center. It's kind of intriguing and funny because we're shitting on this team, but they've been phenomenal hosts. That's all I'll say good about them. Fuck them. And I guess there's an investigation today, Rosie. Your boy, Nicky Cousins, you played with him. He's guested on this show way back when, and Department of Player Safety. But I guess there's an investigation taking place on this Friday.
Yeah, I woke up and read that and was like, oh God, like whenever you read that, it seems like something bigger than hockey. Something went down off ice. Not good. Families are being destroyed. Turns out I think Nicky's just throwing some sauce over to our starting goaltender there. We'll see. I don't know, kind of peanuts in some ways. And then on the other hand, it's like, cut that Bush League shit out. I don't know. Nicky gets in the lineup and guns a puck at the other goalie. They don't like that in the National League. Gary doesn't like that stuff. He doesn't like I think they really want to stay away from the extracurriculars before the game. When I played with a guy named Zenon Konopka. I think everyone remembers
Mutant.
him.
Yeah.
He would start a mini brawl every single game in warmup. It was just like part of his routine. I was like the heavy on the team. Had to come in there all the time. I ended up fighting Theo Peckham just right at center ice in warm-up. Got suspended 4 games. There was always little brouhahas, and it was like his shtick. And we'd play 3-3, and every 3 games in a row, we've got a mini brawl where the linesmen and everything have to come out in their socks and sandals and try to break it up. Absolute gong show. So the league's trying to stay away from that kind of thing. We'll see if they drop the hammer on old Nicky Cousins or not.
Sounds about right. But yeah, that's all I could think about driving in today when you got word of this investigation earlier today. I mean, what's really going to come of it? A fine for Cousins, a fine for the Ottawa Senators. And all I could think about was hockey in the 90s when I grew up in the early 2000s, where this shit happened on a game-by-game basis. I think Detroit and Colorado their wars and rivalry were based on the extracurriculars before the game even started. And here we are, and the NHL is all annoyed and in disarray because Nick Cousins shot the puck at Anthony Stolarz, who again probably saved it because he's saving everything in this series. It's just night and day, dude. That's all I can say on that front.
I know. I wanted to talk to Cory Cross about that, our guest today.
Yeah.
About the difference in, I think people forget, or maybe they never had the opportunity to see what hockey was like back then. And it was more and more of a, call it a gong show if you want, the further you go back in time. And I mean, some people poo-poo that, and the league doesn't like it, but mostly because you're getting involved in, insurance and lawyers and headshots, and it's just a mess. So they've really cut back, and the game is so Mickey Mouse now in comparison. But it is funny. You used to, go back and watch the videos. Like, if you don't go to YouTube and watch the wars and those battles, Red Wings, Avalanche, talk about this Battle of Ontario. It was wild. And like every other whistle just had these extracurriculars. And I'm sorry to say, 99% of the crowd, man, woman, and children, is going, holy, look, it's exciting as hell. And now we're talking about an open investigation about flipping a little wrister over to the goalie who's stretching and all. You're walking a thin line there between, are you pissing him off to play better, or are you getting him off his game? But now the league's got to step in potentially. Kind of wimpy, if you ask me, but of course it's Nicky Cousins on the other side of it.
Different times, you're right. Hasn't played in it. Well, I think he played a couple games, but yeah, this is a textbook Nicky Cousins, and they're trying everything possible to get in the head of Anthony Stolarz. And unfortunate for the Ottawa Senators, nothing seems to have worked through 3 games. It's 3 loves Maple Leafs. Dude, the atmosphere was incredible. I was in the building for Game 3 last night. The Sens fans brought it. The split a lot different from what I expected. I would say maybe 80-20, if not 90-10 in favor of the Ottawa Senators. But I hate to say it, louder environment. And there's something quirky about older buildings as well. I was talking to the guys behind the scenes here. The buildings, just the DNA, how things are structured, the press box, how antique looking it looks. But a different feel to the game here in Ottawa last night.
Yeah, that's good to hear. The last thing I remember about Ottawa and that Canadian Tire Center in the playoffs is that it wasn't full. And I thought that was incredible and very hard to do in a Canadian market. But obviously that's not the story this year, which I'm glad to hear. I thought there'd be a little more blue and white in the building. 10%. I thought it'd be more, but good for them for packing the building, being loud, being energetic. I want that in every single barn throughout the league, every single night throughout the season. I want the preseason packed in every single rink. It's just good for the game. And to have a barn in Canada and to hear the story that it wasn't full for a playoff game in recent memory is quite shocking. So I'm glad that's not the narrative. And like you said, it was buzzing for good reason, man. It's Battle of Ontario. Everyone's been jacked. And I did notice online the wind is firmly dropped out of the sails of the Ottawa Senators faithful. And that's hats off to the Maple Leafs.
Yeah, I actually heard because they recorded Coming in Hot, one of our sister podcasts here, our brother podcast over at the Nation Network, and they were giving the Maple Leafs their props, which I actually respect from Sens Army. It's been a back and forth between the two fan bases the last little while, but we're going to jump more into the game. But I thought it was a unique show of respect from that perspective. But a commanding 3-0 series lead. We're feeling good about this team, Rosie. Now we go nationgear.ca, where you can join the parade with us. I shouldn't say the word parade in these parts, but join the cause with us. Now we go nationgear.ca. I'm wearing mine proud today.
I love it. Yeah, I gave one to my dad. We are rocking it. I have not watched a game without it, so that is going to continue. If you want to get on that train, nationgear.ca, go get one of these tarps. They're pretty sharp this year, if you ask me.
They are. I love them, and I'm looking forward to Game 4 tomorrow night here at Canadian Tire Center. 2 blockbuster guests on today's show. I'm a big wrestling guy. Adam Copeland's one of the biggest Toronto Maple Leafs fans, and he's going to drop by here, Rosie, in about 25 minutes or so.
Yeah, looking forward to that. I don't want to wind you up too much, but I think WrestleMania was during Game 1. How did that go down?
It was fine. I wouldn't bring up WrestleMania to Adam Copeland. He's with the competitor company. He is a WWE Hall of Famer, though, but I did skip night 2 of WrestleMania. I watched it after the Leafs won that game. So
A
you're okay.
two-nighter. Well, cool.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, he
A
is a
two-nighter,
legend.
you're right. Yeah.
He's a legend in the sport, so we'll pick his brain. And I was just watching the I think you mentioned it a couple days ago, his man cave going on.
Oh man,
He's got some masks, some all-time ones, Maple Leafs and otherwise, that I'm pretty jealous of. The Potvin one in particular. I don't know why, since I was a kid, that Potvin mask and his gear, I didn't even really, it wasn't even into the Leafs, wasn't even into goalies, but for whatever reason, Felix Potvin, his gear and that mask in particular is just all time, and I would love to have it. And he's got I wonder where he got it, and I'm sure he was throwing some bids down to get some of the stuff he's got. He's got Eddie the Eagle, he's got Cujo, he's got a lot of cool stuff.
By the way, you can go watch that video in its entirety. The staff here, Stephen Brunt, Amo Delic, on location in Asheville, North Carolina, at Adam Copeland's home, and got the video at the Leafs Nation 401, where you could check that out. Now, guess 2 of 2. I've been told long time ago in the producer world, you got to react accordingly. Well, Benoit scores the winner. Don't call him Cory Cross, back from 2001, Game 3, the Battle of Ontario. So what do? I reached out to our old buddy, our old pal, Cory Cross. Dude, he's going to stop by in about 40 minutes here.
Yeah, looking forward to that too. It's like some parallels between Game 2 with Max Domi and some parallels between his dad. And I think they're the only father-son combo to score an overtime winner for the same team against the same team in the history of the league. Pretty neat. And now that's like a parallel of Cory Cross's goal back in 2001 to make the series 3-0 against the Senators. And we got Simon Benoit ripping that one home last night. So pretty neat today. We're looking forward to both of those interviews.
I love it. At the Leafs Nation 401, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Leafs Morning Take wherever you find your podcast. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review, and don't forget to visit the LeafsNation.com. A 3-Cobb lead, Rosie, and I just love the unlikely heroes. Do you think anybody, when they do those overtime challenges, you think anybody had Simone, Bobby, or Benoit to score that winner last night?
Maybe if there was
is the answer. No, it's just a quick no.
A least likely. Like, I'm trying to think, was there anyone less likely to score? He's your 6D man, the least offensive, a defenseman in itself. He's probably the least likely guy to do it. And we've seen OEL get the first one of the series. We've seen Morgan Riley get a couple of them. Now Benoit with the big one. Some depth guys in Max Domi getting a huge one overtime. When you're getting that from everybody, and that's not to overshadow or take place of the big guys, because they're not going. Our guns have points coming out of their ears right now. Like, there's still room for improvement. They could still play better, but I mean, when you look at the score sheet and the results, they've got a lot going on right now, and they're spreading it out, which I really love. If it was just Mitch Marner doing all the lag work and you're still in order, I'd kind of go, like, what happens if he cools off? But I mean, you can't look at that depth sheet and find a name who hasn't produced in some way, shape, or form. So a really good sign this time of year, if you ask me. Oh,
for sure. Everybody's pulling their part. But again, I love that it's an unlikely hero. Like, you look at the Maple Leafs, you think of the Fantastic Five. Again, we're looping Matthew Knies into that conversation now with the Big Four. But to get a goal from Max Domi and then Simone Benoit, and all I could think about was Grapes last night. Put the puck on net. That's exactly what happened. The clean faceoff win from Austin Matthews puts the puck on net. Linus Ullmark after the game saying he didn't even see it. I just love that scrappy claw type hockey where it's just very, very direct, very Craig Berube hockey. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, that is Grapes, right? My dad said that to my kid too in overtime, and in overtime, get pucks on net, get bodies. They're like, quite often it's not the prettiest thing in the world, especially in the playoffs when it is 5-on-5 overtime. It's usually one like that where you don't know how it went in, or you don't know how it found eyes, but it did, and the goalie didn't even see it. And just a little wrister from the point from your stay-at-home defenseman is all it takes, and didn't take long either. I like how they're on time. I mean, they've scored twice. 2 out of 3. They've scored first 2 out of the 3 games. Matthews last night, like beginning of the third period, it was 30 seconds in, boom, he buries to get himself on the board with just a ridiculous heads-up play by Mitch Marner. That was huge. And then pretty early on in overtime too, they just, again, I think this is different this year. I realize they're not blowing them out every game, and Sens fans could be like, oh, we're a shot away from this and that. Like, that's great. But there's not a single time that the Leafs don't feel like they're in control. And last night they didn't score the first goal of the game. I thought that would be huge. The Sens record is ridiculous, especially at home when they score first. Didn't matter. They just seized control of the game in other ways and ultimately win it anyway. It's so different watching the playoffs this year than it has been in the past. You're biting your nails, you're scratching and clawing, you're always behind, but you hope if something miraculous happens, you could get ahead and then maybe sneak out that one win. And you're scratching and clawing the whole time. And I think that's just indicative that the team wasn't as good. Now we're just in control almost this whole series, even though it hasn't been perfect. And it's a great sign. Like, again, there's so many things you can go through. Like, what do you want to talk about? And they seem to be in control of that aspect of the game.
I had a future Hall of Fame broadcaster saying that was a $14 million play last night by Mitch Marner. That was the talk of the town in the press box yesterday. But I thought, dude, that's an all-world play. Like, that's why you pay Mitch Marner to make plays like that. It was a sick pass.
Well, I can't tell you how fast things happen out there. Like, at ice level, those guys are so good, and it just seems like they're everywhere, and it's so hard out there. And for him to be so nonchalant all the time and to just know where everyone is and just to have the poise and the understanding just shows that his hockey IQ is off the charts. I have been hard on Mitch Marner in the past because he hasn't led the way with playoff hockey. He has tried to kind of outskill and outmaneuver and do things that just aren't really working in the playoffs. And I think that, I don't know if the whole team's adopted a new mentality or if it's Craig Berube or if he has to a certain degree, but he just seems like a different person. He's got that furrowed brow and he just is confident and he doesn't have that stunned look on his face. And that play right there shows his hockey IQ, his confidence, how heads up he is to be able to make a play like that. There's not many guys that do. And, you know, I'm not sold on the $14 million thing, but I mean, if they can get this done and get by Ottawa and they face one of the Florida teams, and if it happens to be the Florida Panthers, it looks like they're in control. If Mitch Marner can keep playing this hockey against the Florida Panthers, I will retract everything bad that I've said about him. And I will say, you have done everything I have asked. It's that series. It's that opponent that will do it for me. I love that he's on track. I love to be proved wrong. If he outsmarts, outwits, outplays everybody and makes a deep run and it's on his shoulders and he battles and comes against adversity and overcomes it in all different ways, shapes, and forms, I will totally be happy to eat crow and retract my statements about him not being a playoff performer and not wanting to give him a contract extension. But there's a long ways to go before that. I love to see him playing this way, though.
Yeah, definitely. And that's a big story for me, too, is I think the DNA of the big boys has been all throughout this series, and we've seen it quite evident up 3-0 in this Battle of Ontario against the Ottawa Senators. Matthews setting up the winner, Marner to Matthews to start the third period. That was a really, really good start. But it's been unique because you look at previous renditions of this team in the Stanley Cup playoffs, could not score for their life on the power play. And next thing you know, dude, they got 5 power play goals and 9 opportunities. Big story in the series. But curious to get sort of your opinion on the core 4 in general as a team. 19 points through the first 3 games in this series for the core 4.
Yeah, and I don't think they're lighting the world on fire either, but they're getting the job done, and they're all finding ways to get on the score sheet and being on the end one way or the other of those plays that are making the difference and getting them these wins. So you certainly can't be upset about it. I guess I have high expectations, but I think there's another gear. I think there's another gear for William Nylander, no question.
Sure.
I could see Johnny T being a big factor in some of this. And it doesn't matter if you're mucking in front or if you're sending Willie on a breakaway. Like last night, that slap shot, I can't believe on Allmark, that was Willie's choice. I mean, I'm not one to critique.
You think Scott Laughton is rubbing off on Willie? That's why he did that?
I don't know, man, what was in his mind. But with Allmark not really having the top confidence that he's ever had before, I thought he'd try to deke him out with Willie's hands and vision. And oh my goodness, I was surprised to see that clapper. But it doesn't matter how it gets done, and it doesn't matter how flashy it is. If you continue on getting the wins, that's going to be huge. But again, your next opponent, if you can get by Ottawa, is going to be a lot better than Ottawa. They're going to challenge you a lot more, and you're going to need some more dynamic play from those big boys to continue finishing those plays, starting those plays, racking up those points, and do it in even more dynamic fashion, because that series is going to call for it if they can get there.
Yep, I like that. I like the if there. We're coming in hot on today's podcast. Over 600 concurrent listeners and viewers right now. You'll love to see that live here at Canadian Tire Center. It's a 3-0 series lead for the Toronto Maple Leafs at the Leafs Nation 4-1. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Anthony Stolarz, 20 saves. I don't even want to hear about the Brady Tkachuk goal, man. Too many Leafs fans texted me, including people we work with, having some choice words for Stoli in that goal. Give me a break. The guy's been incredible, man. 11-0-0 in his last 11 starts, 1.53, 9.44, 3 shutouts. He ties a Leafs record for the longest win streak by a goalie regular season and playoffs. What a story this is becoming, Rosie, your former teammate.
Yeah, I mean, it's becoming old hat to just continually stroke Stoli and the way he's been playing. He's been like that all year long. And you want to know why players don't, engage in some of the media stuff and open up a little bit more and be more transparent or put themselves out there on either social media or anything like that. It's that right there. Here's what this guy has done, Anthony Stolarz. I mean, you could just talk for the next 30 seconds about numbers and streaks and stats, and it's just out of this world good. And he lets one in, which, I mean, it's a laser short side right off the elbow. He's probably screened, couldn't see the guy release it. Brady Tkachuk's a phenomenal player, and people are just that quick to rip him. Like, that blows my bloody mind. That right there shows that you can't please everybody. It's impossible to not take heat and get criticized. So those guys know that, and they just choose to block it out, stay away from it, give them absolutely nothing, because you cannot win. You can't be perfect. It's not a game of perfect. Nobody's perfect. Stoli's been goddamn close to perfect. And then one little hint where you could maybe twist it into, oh, that wasn't perfect, and you rip the guy and you're sending text saying, what the hell was that? Drives me nuts, man. You could not ask for better goaltending.
I know.
Than what we've got for Anthony Stolarz.
He is playing at a Conn Smythe level. I'm always careful. I mean, we're 3 games into this thing, but he has been that good in the first 3 games of this series. And the timeliness is what we talk about, right? Carter Hutton's going to host a show tomorrow, a special Saturday edition starting at noon Eastern time here, also live from the Canadian Tire Center. But it's the timeliness of the saves that gets me. And he has Dylan Cousins' number in this series and Nick Cousins' number in the pregame warmup. So he's got all avenues covered on the Cousinses.
Yeah, I mean, to see him hacking away on Greg there is just shows that he feels in complete control. He feels dominant. He feels like he can do no wrong, obviously. And he's gotten that to that place for good reason, man. He, like, time and time again, he's made that big save, like that, late period save, or to start the period save, or 3 of them in a row, or the late heroics, or just, there's times where the other team's kind of outplaying you. They've got the momentum. They're leading in shots. They're leading in ozone time. They're leading in chances. And that team kind of expects to be back in the game or to be leading the game or whatever the situation is. But Stoli kicks 3 of those away, and it leads to nothing. And then inevitably the Leafs talent takes over and they start doing that back in the opposition sitting there going, well, what the hell? It's demoralizing. It takes your momentum away. It leads them to start abandoning ship with their systems, trying something different, doing individual plays, bitching at each other, getting frustrated, smashing their sticks. It's just like, on one goaltender, a handful of saves can just lead to that much frustration. And I think a lot of players and a lot of teams have felt that playing Anthony Stolarz this year. And the Leafs are in a great place, large part due to that man right there.
Looking forward to today's shows for a variety of reasons, Rosie. But the thing I wanted to cover, I'm a grammar nerd. Matthews Balding was a big chant last night at Canadian Tire Center. And there's something grammatically incorrect about that chant. Is it low-hanging fruit to chirp a guy about genetics? Because I think half this world is balding. Maybe he goes to Turkey and he comes back full John Cena on us. You never know.
I don't even know if I want to comment on that. Like, they don't seem like the smartest fans in the world. They don't seem like the classiest fans in the world. There's nothing about the online presence that I saw that made me want to be a part of it in any way. It made me happy to be part of, this Leafs Nation thing and to be following that team. They just, like, say what you want about the Leafs, but they are class all the way through. and they can't grammatically. It doesn't even make Matthews
It doesn't.
balding. Like it's
No, it's
just
stupid.
oh, it's painful. And yeah, I think that's dumb. And that's like literally you're sitting there listening, going, "That's all they have." Like they're
At least
digging
we had
that
Brady sucks. I mean, grammatically correct.
better than fucking whatever else. Like talking about his hair, and he hasn't even totally lost it. It's just bottom of the barrel stuff.
You
that
know what my
I am glad
response
I'm
is
not
if I'm
part of.
Matthews? 69 tucks.
Yeah, that's what
Like
could have happened.
69 goal. Like there you can like I understand what they're trying to do, and honestly, I give them credit because I think it got to him a bit last night. But who scores the goal in the third period? It's Austin Matthews. Who sets up the game-winning goal in OT? It's Austin Matthews. So maybe he's balding, but he's really fucking good at hockey, Rosie.
So I'd argue it didn't get to him at all. He was a major part of an overtime win. I would say it did next to nothing except make that entire building look like morons.
I was in the scrum with Matthew Nyes, and I love guys just being such team guys. Firstly, he said, they're like, did you touch that? And he's like, we're going to say it's Benny's goal, like wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And they gave it to Simone Benoit. And secondly, he's like, yeah, we couldn't hear the chants because the media was asking about like the Matthews chants and ragging on him. He's like, I couldn't hear anything. I don't know what you guys are talking about. You heard that. You definitely heard the chants.
I don't know. Sometimes I don't know, being inside the glass, it's a little bit, and you're not,
You're dialed in.
I don't know if I can buy that or not. Maybe if you're not focusing on that, sometimes you blank that shit out. And like when you're in a fight in front of 20,000, sometimes you don't even hear, like you don't even know what's going on. And when you're focused as a player, as Austin Matthews is, you hear like the ups and downs of the intensity level of the sound. I don't know if he's listening or paying attention or if he could even make out what they were saying. I know there was parts in time where I'm like, what the hell are they saying when they're chanting? So I don't know if I believe that or not, but honestly, it did not rattle him at all, obviously, or he wouldn't have been such a presence in the game. I think without him, obviously you have a tough time winning that game, but he was maybe the biggest story of the whole thing.
In support of Sick Kids, Paul Morrow, thank you so much for the super chat. At least Matthews doesn't have Brady's face. Wow. Shallow chat. This is what we attract here at least more.
Yeah, there's been some Goonies pictures floating around this series.
No awesome. Comment. I got a face for radio, so I really can't comment on that. But yeah, at least Nation feeling confident. But the fan base has been a lot different than recent seasons, Rosie, where we talked about it going into this series. There was like a sense of nerves and angst from Sens Nation, and that's why they took to Twitter to chirp Leafs Nation. It's not looking particularly good for that team right now and that fan base, is it?
No, I think it's all but done in their minds. There's not a whole lot of rally cries. There's not a whole lot of hope. And if it is, it's kind of like, well, maybe a miracle kind of thing. It's been done before. And I mean, if you're in that Leafs locker room, all you are talking about is focusing on the next game, resetting, having a huge start, trying to do 60 minutes. Like you just got to go into, kind of almost turn your brain off and become a machine that just doesn't react to the situation, down a few, up a few, adversity in the driver's seat. You want to get to a point where it doesn't matter. You just come out and bring your best every single bloody time. That's hard to do. We are humans. We understand things. It's hard to be up 3-0 on these guys and not think that there's, you're most likely going to win this series. I think that they should win the series. If they don't, then what are we even talking about this team for? But I think we know that this team is pretty damn good and there's no reason to think they can't, but you don't put it on the scoreboard until it's done and they have to go do it still. So, I really think that locker room is just really preaching focus and do your bloody job for that last game. And you try to get it done. It's the hardest one to win. You're going to get the most pushback from your opponent on that deciding game. That is the fourth win. It's the hardest one to get.
Yeah, the biggest cliches are one of the biggest cliches when a team's up 3-0. It's the hardest one to get for sure. At the Leafs Nation 401, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Dude, the chase is on for 16K. We're like 90 away. So if you haven't subscribed to our channel and are watching the show right now, please do so. Again, at the Leafs Nation 401, we got Adam Copeland of AEW, WWE Hall of Famer coming up in mere moments. Just wanted to get your quick thoughts, Rosie. I don't want to spend 15 minutes on it. I thought the officiating was horseshit last night.
I really wish it was more consistent. I mean, the Sens fans were out of their mind about the officiating after game one. I thought they deserved a fair bit of the calls that they got. Maybe you could call a couple of soft here and there. I don't mind. I just wish it was the same because if there was a clear line and it was drawn and everyone knew where it was, you could let them play up to that and everyone would play up to it, and you could let the intensity ramp up and guys kind of know, oh, they're not going to call this, but they'll let it go for a game and then bring it back for this. And this is acceptable in game 2, but game 3, you're going to go to the box for it. I think it makes everyone tippy toe a little bit, and it makes everyone a little bit cautious to, go over that line and bring the intensity level up and play that Darcy Tucker style hockey. I just wish that it was consistent across the board in the playoffs, because it just makes for better hockey. It really does. And we talked to start the show about the difference between, these playoffs and the ones from 2000. There's a big difference, and it's how they call the game, if you ask me. But I try not to get lost up in that shit after a game.
Yeah, definitely not. But I just thought some of the calls were very, very ticky-tack, where it was like even late in the game, Marner gets tripped with $1:30 left, and we're not going to call that. And there's multiple trips in the third period. Like, I don't want to be that guy. You're up 3-0 in the series. But it's just been so inconsistent. And Rosie, I look after 3 games, 9 power plays aside. 9 power plays aside after game 1, where the Maple Leafs had 6 power plays. Think about that, please. It's a joke.
It's even in the series. I guess that's all you can ask for. Like I say, I wish it was just more consistent.
Very well said. Our interview today is brought to you by Charm Diamond Centers. Unfortunately, I don't have the read in front of me, but Charm's been a fantastic sponsor for us all season long. We really, really appreciate this, and we appreciate this interview today. It's our buddy. It's our pal. Jeff Merrick's here on location, by the way. Big fan of today's guest as well. It is AEW's Adam Copeland, WWE Hall of Famer as well. What's going on, Cope? How are you, bud?
Hanging in. How about you guys?
Buddy, every time I have you on, I just want to get into song, man. I just love that theme song, On This Day. But anyways, the Maple Leafs, like, dude, feeling so good about this team. You can tell today, man. How are you?
Yeah, great. I mean, I say it all the time, but this year truly feels like a different animal. Just the goaltending, the D, and Berube. I mean, I feel like those 3 things are what's adding up to this success. I hate to see Florida also finding success too, though. I was kind of hoping Tampa would take more pounds of flesh, which they may still, but man, friggin' Florida.
I hear you. Let's focus on this team right now. I mean, they're obviously in the driver's seat, but we talked to start the show, Adam, about like the difference between watching games the last year and the year before and before that, and what it's like now. There does seem to be this sense of confidence and this sense of calm that I haven't really felt following these guys. What do you think that difference is?
Again, I think it boils down to Berube and them buying into the system. And it honestly didn't take too long for it to gel, but they've had the entire season with this group. And instead of bringing in a bunch of people at the trade deadline, yeah, you picked up Carlo, who's been amazing, and Lawton, who's really starting to come into his own now in that 4th line. But I think because the majority of the team was already in play, I feel they just had more time to gel. And throughout the years where there was O'Reilly or guys like that, it didn't feel like they had long enough to truly gel as a team. And you could tell in the playoffs. But man, they had poise, especially you see in that first game when Ottawa came out flying. You could just feel the nervous energy, through the screen. And the 6 penalties later, and you knew they were going to get smarter about it, and they were going to take less, nervous penalties, I guess. But Toronto, man, just seems they look like a team who's been to the playoffs 9 years in a row.
Yeah, it's unique to say that, but it's very true. And Simone, Bobby, or Benoit wins it in OT. Where were you for that goal? What was your reaction? Obviously, very good times.
I was sitting in this chair
Sick.
for the goal last night, and I jumped up, and I'm sequestered down in the back room in the basement. Like they give me the back room so they can't hear me when overtime goals happen at close to 11 o'clock at night.
Well, it's sure a blast. And, I think that if you look at the way the teams were built in the past, not as heavy, not as deep. It's unreal that we're getting contributions from everybody so far in this short series. That's 3 games is all we're into it. But everyone's chipping in and whatnot, but the core four or the big five or whatever the hell, include Matthew Nyes in that. What are you seeing out of those guys? I mean, they're spreading it around a little bit. I don't think they're like exploding off the page doing incredible things, but you look at the numbers and it's like, my goodness, they are doing their job.
Yeah, and you know what? I don't think it's dependent on them to do that now. And I think that's part of the success of this team is you have a guy like Simone Benoit as the hero from last night, but you have McCabe, you have Tanev eating pucks back there. You got Riley who's turning into playoff Mo again. It's just, it feels like it's much more distributed throughout the team. And I don't think that's been the case before. And you can take a Robertson out and put a Pacioretty in for a different, they probably figured it was going to be a little more intense, a little more ugly, a little more greasy in Ottawa. And I think it was. So you have a guy like Pacioretty to be able to answer that. I just feel like those guys are doing the job because they understand it doesn't all fall on them now. So it just feels like a different pressure on them than usual. And I know they get paid for it and all of those things, but you kind of feel bad because it's like, okay, well, they're trying. They're clearly trying. It's just not happening. This year it feels like it's happening because it's depth. It's depth and it's the system. I said at the beginning of the season, they're going to be a less exciting team, but I think they'll be a more successful team. And I think they're built more for the playoffs than they've ever been, at least with this era of players. It just feels, like you said, heavier team, tougher team. Just the blocking of shots and the way they've all bought into that, the defensive system. I mean, the first shot in the third period, I mean, they score. So you wonder how much Stolarz was getting cold back there. That's kind of what it looked like because normally he has that safe, right? It almost looked like, oh crap, here they come. And he wasn't quite prepared. Back to Stolarz, I think he's, as of right now, the biggest difference in the feel of the team. I love the way he's chirping back there, talking to his guys. I love that he leveled Greg. I was going to say, man, that was a sweet shoulder tackle. He's got another career if he ever wants it.
Hey, what are the chances we see Stoli in AEW sometime soon?
I mean, he's got the size. I could use a tag team partner.
All your friends are turning on you, dude. I don't know what's going on these days.
I've become like the new Hulk Hogan in terms of like just everybody turns on me.
It's crazy. I want to get your reaction as well. You talk about Stoli. I think we're almost at a point where you got to make Anthony Stolarz his own championship belt. But to me, that's been the biggest story of this 3 games so far in the Battle of Ontario. Just solidifying the crease. And people think this is like an 11-game sample size. It's not. Even dating back to the preseason where Stoli, I think, stood on his head for a preseason game. What a marvelous, marvelous addition by the Maple Leafs last summer, because this guy's been incredible, man.
Yeah, I mean, it was that game in New Jersey where I went, whoa. All right, this dude is dialed in. And again, I just love the fact that it's a very un-Toronto, at least pre this season thing. Like, you wouldn't see a Maple Leaf goalie do that before. Just start rifling a dude in the back of the head. Like, you just didn't see it. And I love it. Don't come in my crease, man. You come in the blue paint, you're going to get your head knocked off. And I think that filters to the rest of the team too. So it becomes this team-wide thing because they're much more physical. They really are. And, even guys like Willie who don't necessarily need to be, you do get a sense of how strong that dude is when somebody, unless Kachuk's dogpiling him from behind with a bulldog.
The hell was that?
No call, by the way.
None. Zero. What'd you think of the reffing last night, man? I was there in person and I'm like, what are we doing here? I think it was a ref show in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, you hate when I think like Jay was saying before I came on, just the consistency, right? If you can get the consistency across the board, then you know what you're walking into. But if you're having to adjust that every game or adjust that in the first 10 minutes, and now you're giving up, power plays, and that can change the entire course of the game, right? So you just like to see a little more consistency and like, okay, what is a trip? What isn't a trip? What is boarding? What isn't boarding? Because it's kind of hard to tell right now. Like, Nyes eats about 4 cross checks in the back from Chabot, and then gives 2 to, I even forget who it was, but then he gets called. And like Matthews is like getting pushed going, really?
It is tough to watch at times, but
it is. But they're rolling with it, and they're not letting anything get in the way. They're not getting bogged down. Again, I think that goes back to Berube. That dude isn't built with excuses. That excuse is a word that does not exist in his world, and I think the entire team's picked up on that, where it's just like, no, put your head down, get to business.
Mm-hmm. And as an athlete with you, Cope, you've had moments where they're bigger than others and tens of thousands of people, television, and you want to perform. What would be your advice to this team as they get ready for an elimination game? And if they get deeper and as the games and the moments get bigger, would you have any advice for them as things start to become more intense and important?
I guess the only similarities are that adrenaline, because with, there's no way I'm going to be able to tell a pro hockey player how to adjust to what they got to do. Right. The only thing I always make sure to just breathe. Because if you breathe, it just calms everything, and that's really the only thing I think about it, and just go out loose. Like if I have a big show, I come into it excited, not trepidatious. I'm like, okay, let's knock the doors off this thing.
Yeah, it's very Uncore like, and again, this story's been different this season, but you seem to rise to the occasion in big matches, all the manias, all the big events you seem to rise up, and that's what we're looking for from this Maple Leafs team moving forward. The last couple of weeks have been so nostalgic for us, like even from a guest department, we had Alan McCauley on, and Jonas Hoagland and Eddie Belfour. Funny enough, Belfour talks about how he would have blockered somebody in the face if they did that to him. The next game, Stoli comes out and does that with Ridley Gregg, so you love to see that. But just your perspective here on the Battle of Ontario, like Cory Cross is coming up too. The Benoit goal reminded me of Cory Cross in 01 Game 3 scoring the OT winner, eh?
Yeah, it's just I don't know. Again, just a different team this season, and watching it throughout the season, just feeling the difference. It really does feel like some of the really successful teams from the past. Kind of feels like the Gilmore Clark, years, just in terms of the kind of team that they have. I think picking up Tanev was massive. McCabe, having him as his D partner, I think has been massive. He can play on the proper side. Just there's so many things that those two do. And then you got Carlo, who is quietly, very, very quietly, just, which is what you want from D, done his job. And it feels like Morgan finally has that guy. And they gel, and they, like, even when they got the overtime winner the other night, and like Riley's jumping down the bench to Carlo, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's good. That's good. When you see little things like that, that means those two are connected, and that's what you want out of your D pairs, right?
And you talk also, about Berube, and I think hats off to him. Absolutely, it's changed the DNA of this team. But I think what gets lost sometimes is tree living. Like you mentioned, the back end, you got Tanev, OEL, McCabe, and Carlo at about $16 million or something.
Yeah.
Like to reinvent this team and to get big time players and pieces in, and then make up for that in other ways with the cap. Just I can't believe that there's some people who still poo-poo that, man. He has built this team and given it to Craig Berube. And when you sometimes step back and look at it, I can't believe how much better suited for the playoffs it is.
Yeah. And again, back to that decor, right? And what True Living's done, let alone picking up a guy like Lorentz.
Mm-hmm.
Like another guy who kind of flies under the radar, but what has he got, 4 or 5 game winners this season? Like, that's a guy who steps up at the time when you need him, and always has a smile on his face, and just the pickups that they made, especially grabbing 3 from the defending champions, and they go in the division. That's how they pulled that off. It's Singapore to get Marchand. I'm just like, how does that? Yeah, man, it just feels like they're a bigger, tougher, gnarlier team that don't seem to really sweat much. Like, I know there was a lot of conjecture and talk, like, well, 5-on-5, like if you watch Hockey Night in Canada after the first game, it was just like, well, 5-on-5 they were better. It was 6-2. I don't think they were better. I think Toronto doesn't care if you play in their O zone or in their D zone. I really don't it doesn't seem to affect them. They're calm, and they know that they'll get it out. They know they're going to block a shot. They're going to stifle it. They're going to blanket it, and then pitch one out, like Marner on that breakaway from Matthews. I mean, not only that, but you have those two, Marner and Matthews in particular, playing the defensive games that they play. And again, people talk about it, but their defensive play is really, really underrated. Just like I feel like Tavares's play, just in keeping separation from the opposition and the puck, is underrated. There's so many good things to like on this team right now.
Very dialed in, and tough times certainly for the calculator community with the Maple Leafs up 3-0 in this series. I know you're coming off the heels again. Your ass whooped by your buddies a couple of weeks back, so I hope you're feeling better about that in AEW. But what are the chances we see you at more games? I just love that it seems to time up perfectly with the Maple Leafs Stanley Cup playoffs. Is coincidental or what?
It wasn't by design, I swear. It really, really wasn't. But yeah, man, it was just so fun. I got a call from my manager, and he said the Leafs reached out and they want you to come out and do a hype video. I was like,
sick.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we went up. I got to stand on center ice, which, as a kid from Orangeville, stand on center ice on the Leaf, just so cool, and to be any like small, little tiny part of what they do. And it's just super fun to be involved.
It's awesome. It was great to see. And lastly, just wanted to touch on your time with Stephen Brunt at your home where you are right now. We released a video last week, man. That man cave looks electric, dude.
It's getting there. My wife tells me I should just take the whole basement. So she's little by little, she's giving me more and more. So I might get the whole basement, and then it's going to be ridiculous.
Freaking
awesome,
so
I'm jealous of some pieces. That Potvin mask, oh boy, the 10-year-old version of me would want that bad. Right, the 40-year-old version wants it bad.
Gopi, this has been so much fun. Let's reconnect soon. Let's go series by series here, bud. Thank you so much for your time. We'll talk soon, okay?
All right. See you guys.
See you, bud. That's Adam Copeland. Just phenomenal stuff. And again, go check out the video at the Leafs Nation 401 where you could do so right now. Stephen Brunt got a tour of the man cave, man. Just very, very Leaf-centric, clearly, in that basement. But the masks are what does it for me, too.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Like you said, pick his brain as they continue to pluck along here, and hopefully there's lots more of that to come. But, at the end there, you mentioned the calculator community. Like, we got
tough times for them, Rosie. Tough times, buddy.
Like, when will they...
When do you concede? When do you wave the white flag and you're like, you know what, this version of the Leafs is harder to play against in the playoffs? When do you do that?
Reminds me of the flat earthers. Like, no matter how much you can throw, they're like, yeah, but just hold on a second. I got to figure a different way to word this, and I got to figure out a different angle to kind of make it. And they just refuse to stop. And it's like, how much do you need to see? Like, this morning, woke up to our chat showing a piece with some guys that are on Twitter famous for all that stuff. And I've got Simon Benoit as the worst player in the league right now. Okay. And he's a guy that does so many little things. He's reliable. I mean, is he a $12 million defenseman? No, he's never supposed to be. He's never been asked to. He shouldn't be expected to be that guy. But he does so many little things and all those intangibles as well. And then lo and behold, chips in monstrously last night. It's just an absolute mockery when those guys get their numbers going and try to say why a guy can't be on a team. And I love it when they come up huge and just put it right back down their throat.
Absolutely wild stuff. The Maple Leafs lead this Battle of Ontario here in 2025, 3-0. Speaking of which, shades of 2001 last night. Simone Benoit scoring that goal, and today's guest back in Game 3 of 2001, Cory Cross, scoring the winner for the Maple Leafs to give them a 3-0 series lead. Cory, thank you so much for doing this. What went through your mind when you saw Benoit score last night?
Well, yeah, I was happy that the Leafs won. I hadn't really put two and two together until I got a couple of texts from a couple of people, and then I was like, oh yeah. And I started thinking about Game 3, Ottawa tied it up late. A defenseman scores to make it 3-0. I was kind of giggling at it.
That is pretty nice. Just put her on net in overtime, right? Good things happen. But overall, this team you've been watching, what kind of vibes are you getting? Is it different than years in the past? Do you think that Ottawa just isn't a heavy enough opponent, or do you really think that these guys are built for the playoffs like they haven't been in the past?
Yeah, I like their defense right now. I like their balance of the fourth line. I think Domi's line had some good minutes last night with Pacioretty on that line. I thought they brought some good energy. And, Carlo, Ekman Larson, Tanev, Benoit, they just bring some size and some toughness to that lineup that they haven't had in the past.
It's a lot different. And again, there's just so many examples that could bring you success in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Vegas, for one, comes to mind, the St. Louis Blues. But just that night by night and night, like how much of a toll does that play on your body when you're playing every other day in the Stanley Cup playoffs and you're playing for keeps?
Well, it's a ton of a little bit of luck not to get hurt, but bigger guys win the playoffs. I don't care what it is. There, you look at back of the lineups that have won the last 10 20 years, they're all big teams, and the little guys, they're good players in the regular season, but that pounding of every night in the playoffs, it just wears them down, and you got to have those big boys to keep driving through.
And we've talked about the differences between today's hockey and, say, the early 2000s. Can you tell, like, our listeners what you notice when you watch and what you remember about those series as far as the physicality, the extracurriculars, just the intensity level and the hatred and the ability to play so much heavier where the rules weren't like they are now? Do you recognize a huge difference when you're watching these days?
Oh yeah. I during COVID, there was a few old games, old playoff games in the Leafs. Actually, the one that I scored in, and I recorded, and my son's who's a 16-year-old, he watches the game. He's like, I can't believe all the penalties that they didn't call back then.
Yes.
But the playoffs, there's just such more, like, there's so much more intensity, and when you're hitting a guy, you're going through him hard. Regular season, maybe not so much, right? So every hit, every time you're going to the net or you're body checking somebody, it's always a little bit more. And really the regular season for these guys is, I wouldn't say a cakewalk, but it's nothing like we went through back in the day. But then you get to the playoffs, and these guys, they're not really used to, they might not be used to the grind it is, because the rules do change. You can see it. It's frustrating as a fan. I'm sure you guys get frustrated with what they're calling, what they're not calling, but that's just the way it is, I guess.
Yeah, don't worry. I had a huge rant on that earlier on in the podcast. Just consistency, man. The third period, there was a couple trips and a couple plays. And then the Ottawa perspective, like, there's a reason why that team leads the league every year in power plays. Just dive city. I felt like I was watching the Summer Olympics and Michael Phelps, but I digress on that front. April 16th, 2001, you score your OT winner, Game 3 in the Battle of Ontario. That one taking place at the then Air Canada Centre. What do you remember about that goal?
Well, you know what, that was one of the obviously one of the highlights of my career. They tied it. We were dominating that series. They were big time favorites. We went to Ottawa, dominated them to 2 games. We come back to Toronto. Man, I don't even know how many shots they had on goal that night, but it wasn't very many. And then they got one kind of fluky goal, another kind of fluky goal, and they tied up 2-2. And I remember sitting in the room, we're all kind of like, oh, we just woke them up, right? And we went back out. There was a couple of chances on both ends, and then Sergei shot it, and Lalime took a terrible rebound. Like, you look at that, you look at that, and how the,
True.
it wasn't even in a hard shot, but he just like blockered it out through the slot, like, and popped over, I think, Rob Zomner's stick, and then I was just in the right spot at the right time.
Pretty nice. A lot of focus has been on the big boys and the stars of this team in the past playoffs. And, at the end of the day, their lack of ability to score, whether it's the power play or 5-on-5, but points coming out their ears this year. It's been a good start so far in the first 3 games, although none of them is seen to be like off this planet. Who is it that you've noticed that's really stepped it up? If anybody, has it been a collection of all of them just stepping up their game, or what do you notice about the stars?
Well, I really like Matthews, his full game. They were talking about a little bit on there last night that he's, not scoring as many goals, but his defensive part of the game is really improved. And Those guys, it's hard to play in Toronto, and they've got a lot of pressure on them. They see their team right now, and it's kind of like, yeah, this could be the year. So I think they've all stepped up their game. Ottawa's obviously going to check them hard. They just got to find ways to get it done, and for the most part, they've done that.
And there's a common factor for me, and taking nothing away from Sheldon Keefe. Thought he was a great coach, done some great things here with the New Jersey Devils, but it's Craig Berube in the system and how different this team looks as one cohesive unit. You played for the great Pat Quinn. Do you see any parallels between the two head coaches?
Well, Chief and Pat, they just bring that presence when they're in the dressing room, and Craig just brings that, let's get her done and work style attitude, right? And Pat was the same way. So I think the players feed off that probably quiet energy that they bring, and I think that's where you're getting a little bit more from them this year.
Yeah, for sure. Now, as the Leafs enter an elimination game right now, you've been in that exact same position. Does anything change, or what's the mentality going on in the locker room before an elimination game?
Well, you're excited because you want to get the series over as quickly as you can, but you know that they're going to play, desperate, very desperate, because they don't want to go home. So you try to keep it simple, start of the game, and just keep playing your system, and hopefully, capitalize on a couple chances you get. And if you get up in a big game like that, then the other team starts taking chances, and then hopefully capitalize on those chances. But you just got to keep playing your game. For these guys, they got to keep focused, and you play a 60-minute game. You got them on the ropes. They're going to take chances and capitalize when you get a scoring chance.
Corey, to me, it sounds like you got that belief and that passion. Do you think this could be a lengthy run for the Toronto Maple Leafs this season?
Well, I hope so. I like I said, I like their team a lot better than I have any other years. Stolarz is playing exceptional. You got to have a good goalie. So, I can finish off Ottawa in 4, stay healthy. They'll have a huge, whoever comes out of Florida and Tampa, that's going to be a big series. So I think whoever wins that series will be in the final.
Corey, awesome stuff, man. Thank you so much for doing this on short notice. I just had to reach out after I saw Benoit score. It just brought back shades to me, even as a 35-year-old, seeing you score back in 01. You're an absolute stud. Thank you so much for your time today, man.
You're welcome, guys. Good luck to you guys in the Leafs. We'll chat with you soon.
Sounds good. Take care. That is Cory Cross. As it continues here on Leafs Morning Take, man, just the nostalgia. Having the Battle of Ontario Rosie's been so cool, but the fact that we've had a chance to connect with so many guys from that vintage, from that era, and they all are consistent in saying, yeah, it was different hockey. Just his interpretation of the rules. I thought that was a great breakdown.
That was funny because I forgot about that during COVID. There's no sports on. You flick it on, and there was 80s hockey, 90s hockey, early 2000s hockey, and you could watch 1.5, 2 shifts in. And like, I remember my kid did the same thing, and he was much younger, and he's like, the guy's like water skiing behind him with a hook. He's like, that's a hook. That's a hook. I was like, dude, it was clutch and grab. I mean, if a guy had his head down, you could train wreck him right through the head. It did not matter. They let the guys police themselves on what was too far and what wasn't. And you saw that all the time in playoff runs. Guys get pissed off. You did this to my guy, I'm coming after yours. And it was the back and forth, and it was who's willing to take it further and who's going to cross the line and take a penalty. And you got to watch all that evolve and fester and boil over. And it was so good to watch. And you see shades of it now. I'm not trying to bring it up all the time to poo-poo on the league these days, but if you ever go check out a game from 20 plus years ago, it is quite shocking the way they let the guys play.
Night and day, dude. Night and day. At the Leafs Nation 401. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and support of Sick Kids. Hank Gibbs, thank you so much for the super chat. Can we expect to see Adam sing the national anthem this playoff run? Unlikely. He is a professional wrestler, a big-time Maple Leafs fan, but I don't think he's known for his voice. That is for certain.
Whew, I don't know if that's what I think. He's more of a pump up guy and fire the
Yeah,
crowd. I
dude,
don't know
he's
about
sick, man.
singing, but
Yeah.
there's been some weird stuff with anthems lately, so I wouldn't put it past anybody.
To me, it's still really cool that I got a chance to connect with Kobe, just because I was such a big wrestling fan in the day, and to be able to do that, man, is just like it's out of this world. Honestly, I think it's such a cool aspect of this job to be able to connect with like people who are just massive Maple Leafs fans. And again, if you have a chance to check out that video at the Leafs Nation 401, just the man cave and what he brings to the table. But I'll be honest, man, starting to get that belief with this team. I just like the buy-in. I like the way they're playing right now, Rosie.
I do too, and I mean, this is impressive to be up 3-0. Like, make no mistake about it.
Yeah.
I didn't have trepidation, but I needed to see what they looked like. Like, is this a completely different deal for them? We've seen them Jekyll and Hyde. We used to say that 4 times a week we would say Jekyll and Hyde because there's just such drastic differences in the way that team plays. We have not mentioned that this year, but I was not concerned. I didn't know if we'd see any kind of a flip or a change in mentality or a change in the thought they were going about their business. It hasn't changed at all. They seem in complete control, and I absolutely love that. I really think, though, watching the games and whatnot, this true test for this team, if they can get this 4th win against Ottawa, and I don't want to look too far ahead, but to me, that the staple and their mark on this league will be that series. Whoever it ends up being, if they can get there again, I understand. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but that will be the difference. And it's funny how at the end of that, Cory said, whoever comes out of that series, that Eastern Conference semi is probably going to be in the finals and possibly win the whole deal. And I know you're probably not smart to make those predictions at this point in time, but I really think the true test is yet to come. And I can't wait to see what this team's made of. And it starts in game 4, we talk about you're standing on a guy's neck. You got to step on it and finish the job and have that killer instinct. I think they'll make a bit of a statement if they can get this done 4 in a row. I think that's the next task.
Yes, for sure. There's got to be tasks, even if you're up 3-0 in a series, and try to get yourself some rest before. Like I'm a firm believer teams need a bit of rest and luck too when it comes to injuries throughout the Stanley Cup playoffs. But if you can finish off Ottawa in 4 games, I think it goes a long way in potential success for this team in the Stanley Cup playoffs. It's time now for the Crispy Hot Take of the Day, presented by the Ninja Crispy 4-in-1 Portable Glass Air Fryer.
Meet the first of its kind. The Ninja Crispy Portable Cooking System. The power of a full-sized air fryer in the palm of your hand. So you can cook big or small batches. Just prep it, crisp it, serve it, and store it all in one.
It is an all-in-one system that includes 4-quart, 6-cup Tupperware glass containers and 2 storage lids. The Ninja Crispy is the thermal shock resistant and can go from frozen to crispy in minutes. With the Crispy Power Pod, you get the power of a full-size air fryer in the palm of your hands. The 4-quart container fits 4 pounds of chicken or veggies. Cook a personal-sized meal in 7 minutes in the 6-cup container. Max crisp, bake, air fry, and recrisp with the Ninja Crispy. You can prep, cook, and store anything from crispy favorites to one-dish meals. Visit their website in the show description and stay tuned for your chance to win a free Ninja Crispy. And, dude, you talk about crispy. Another sizzling hot take from producer Vic today off the heels of the Leafs Nation After Dark last night.
Who, dog? Yeah, the boys were feeling no pain.
They're horny last night. We're producer Vic and Zach Phillips. You'll love to see that, though. Enjoy the moment.
Go back and check that one out. She was a good one. But what is producer Vic got for us today? He's had some hot takes lately.
Producer Vic's hot take of the day. This is the best Leafs team since 1967. Breathe that in, Rosie.
Eesh. Wow. Certainly yet to be determined, but no other team. That's the last team to get the job done. I mean, people will argue eras. We've talked about it a lot this week. Different styles of hockey. Which one's better? It's like, you compare Gretzky to Ovi or Jack Nicklaus to Tiger Woods, and it's kind of like they different equipment, different era, different everything. It's tough to do. And people are going to bring up a 94 team where they went to the Eastern Conference Finals, and it's tough, but I will say 100% they have more boxes checked. They are deeper. I mean, they talked about their D, the goaltending, like, goddamn, man, I think you can make an argument to say that it is. And that's not to say that I'm saying they're going to go all the way. They could run into someone who just happens to be a little bit better and not get through the second round. or something crazy could happen and they could get beaten 7 in this round. But man, there's a reason he's even asking that question. And it's because you go through that lineup and through that roster and you just can't believe everything they've been able to put together.
Yeah, that's fair. It is a crispy hot take, which we love here at Leafs Morning Take. I think it's a bit premature. We're 3 games into the Battle of Ontario. The Maple Leafs, the 1 seed for the reason. They should take care of business. They have through 3 games. It's been closer than people expect. But I look at, and I don't have much recollection past or before 1989. Obviously, the year I was born. But like the early 2000s, that team that went to the conference final, like even a team that didn't go far with the Leaches and all those guys and the Gilmores, like they were just stacked with players from the Robertses, the Sundins, the Berezins. So for me right now, I think a little premature, but I do feel pretty giddy about this team now, Rosie.
Yeah, just the fact we're asking the question. And are you basing it strictly on results, or is it potential or names on paper or Hall of Famers, or what are we saying here? But it's funny because when you see some overtime winners and whatnot in the celebrations, when we go back and you look at, we just played the Cory Cross clip.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, oh yeah, how did that go down? And what was the reaction? And when the bench empty and they're dogpiling at center, you look back and you go, "Ooh, baby, that barn was buzzing." And it's kind of nostalgic. You think back to it and it's history, right? It's pretty cool that they're making history right now in front of our eyes. And it unfolds in real time. But when you look back, you'll remember all the names and all these guys on this team and the players, and you'll remember who they acquired at the deadline and who scored the overtime winners. And oh yeah, that coach and this architect and that GM. And remember when they got it? It's pretty neat. We're watching it in real time. And again, a message to savor what we're watching here.
Sure.
Savor the spot the Leafs are in right now. Ride with them, die with them, whatever happens. Like you don't get a lot of years with this much potential, and it's a pretty exciting time right now. Hence why we've been having so many guests on, breaking it down, all these different shows. People are absolutely pumped about where the Leafs are.
I will say watching this series makes me miss Bob Cole. Oh, baby. For sure. I just, that is what I remember about the Battle of Ontario's back in the day was the great Bob Cole. Chris Cuthbert doing a great job as well. But Bobby Cole, unrivaled. Even watching some of your fights back in the day with Bobby Cole calling them, man, just the best to ever do it, in my opinion.
Oh, I would die to watch a playoff game, to watch Game 4, Bob Cole doing it, man. Just something about that voice. The greats have this pitch and then their calls. It would be unbelievable to watch one more of those. But once again, that's why you got to savor the greats while they're here, man.
Very well said. Want to get in on the action for Stanley Cup playoffs at Bet365. They got you. From game props, player props, totals on the money line. You can bet on futures like series winners, conference champions, the Stanley Cup champions, and much, much more. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app and get in on the game. An official partner of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Must be 19 or older, Ontario only. Please play responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, visit ConnexOntario.ca. You can either lay a bet for tomorrow's Leafs game, since you're not going to be here for tomorrow's special edition of Leafs Morning Take, or you can look at tonight's card. Washington, Montreal, the Bell Center dude's going to be rocking for Game 3. The Caps up 2-0 in that series.
Yeah, I was leaning towards just taking the two teams that are the underdogs and the backs are against the wall, and the Edmonton Oilers and the Montreal Canadiens. I just sprinkle a little something on them. It's tough to go up that third game, as the Leafs found out, with an overtime winner, but I don't know. I don't know why I'm doing that. I hate the Canadiens, and I think the Oilers are dog shit, and they're fucking embarrassing themselves once again. But I think one of those teams will get a W. As far as the Leafs game on Saturday, I want to see William Nylander get on the board. I want to see him do something dynamic. I want to see this celebration that just says, remember my fucking name. Like, I want to see that look on Willie's face, and we know what I'm talking about when he gets that way. I want to see him get on the board at a big game, an elimination game. I think it'll set the tone for Game 2 for Series 2 if they can get this thing done on Saturday.
Yeah, by Willie's standards, it's been a quiet series, and I think a lot of people are waiting for his sort of signature outing in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And quite frankly, that's what makes the Leafs a very scary team. There's just so many guys who can have that moment, that game, and really just take over a hockey game. And that's why another reason to feel optimistic and positive about this Maple Leafs team before we go, and this could have implications moving forward in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Brendan Hagel is going to have a hearing today with the NHL. What did you think of that hit on Sasha Barkov last night? Ooh, buddy.
I mean, I love that Hagel is a small guy. I mean, we're talking about big boy hits that are bone crunching and devastating and can make a guy not want to play hockey anymore. And it was interference. He's probably going to get dinged with something. You can't make that hit. And I wish it was clean. It wasn't. I hope Barkov's not hurt. You never want to see that kind of thing. But the idea that that player is willing to go and throw himself into that guy as a smaller player who plays with big brass balls, we saw it in the Four Nations face-off. I love the mentality. I would love if they could get it done a little cleaner and, without the suspensions, without the injuries. Like, I love it when guys are throwing the body down and force a guy to get up and back check because he just got put on his ass. It's demoralizing to the team. It amps up the crowd like crazy, and it gives your team a lot of momentum thinking you're dominating. I love the mentality, but he's going to get dinged for it. I'm quite sure. What were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, same thing. I just never know which way they're going to go, especially we calculate playoff games a lot heavier than I would say regular season, but Barkov gets injured. That's another factor, was interference. So we'll see what's handed out by the NHL later today. Rosie, great job the last couple of days. I know Carter Hutton, we're doing a special edition, at least morning take at noon Eastern time tomorrow. Kyle Bukauskas is going to drop by, do a one-on-one with me. Hutz will be by for the first 30 minutes in anticipation of Game 4. And you talked about it. Killer instinct, man. Put them away tomorrow night, right?
Yeah, big time, man. Do a lot of the same things, but it's got to be your best effort. Keep yourself focused mentally and get everyone on the same page. And you got to bring your best. I mean, just because you're up 3-0, the last thing you can do is let off the gas pedal a little bit. So we'll see another layer of what this team's made of as far as how they're starting 60 minutes performances against this team who's on their last legs and going to throw the kitchen sink at them. It'll say a lot about them. And if they get it done in a sweep, it'll be pretty goddamn impressive.
Now we go, baby. 2001, potentially all over again for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Thank you to Adam Copeland and Cory Cross for dropping by today's show. Behind the scenes, Nick Caroli, phenomenal job. The guy only wears sweatshirts, doesn't wear anything else. We'll see what he wears to the press box tomorrow night. Amo Delic as well behind the scenes. Just moral support out the yin-yang for Jeff Merrick. The sheet coming up at 1 p.m. Eastern time at the Leafs Nation 401. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Leafs Want to Take wherever you find your podcast. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review. And don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com. Thank you to producer Vic. For Jay Rosehill, I'm Nick Alberga. We'll talk tomorrow at noon Eastern time. Take care. Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long-form interviews. We got clips. We got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.